Hello, friends, and welcome to Style Esports. We are here with a match between Chaotic Surge and Conquering Sands Gaming, and this should be an interesting one. I'm Nyarko, casting Style for the first time, actually, and I'm joined by someone with a little bit more of a steady hand. It's InigoMontoya on color. How you feeling tonight?
Doing pretty good. Should be a very interesting game against these both of these teams. Conquering Sam's Gaming versus Chaotic Esports. So far, number 2 and number 5 on our team ranking right now. So should be a good time.
Yeah, and both of these teams coming in kind of as unknown quantities to me, but Inigo, I know you did a little bit more research than I have, and you have some thoughts on how these teams are going to play against one another. Do you want to take us through some of these preferred champions for both sides?
Yeah. Well, both sides like to play in their solo queue games, they play a lot of aggressive champions on both sides. Chaotic Surge definitely pushing that forward. Chaotic Surge unfortunately doesn't have any games this split yet, but Conquering Sams is definitely pushing out a lot of their games. Already 5-4 so far, winning 3 times this past week. And as we get into draft, we already have a few bans coming on. Chaotic Surge banning off Darius and Ezreal, Conquering Sands banning off Udyr and Caitlyn. Another ban from Syndra on Chaotic Surge.
And
So
this is
already some
nice.
fast bans.
This is an interesting blend between meta picks alongside some things that are definitely more on the comfort side. Conquering Sands Gaming, getting the Darius knocked away from them is something that's interesting to see. I think that is probably a target towards I'm Here to Dunk, given that name. But now, as you're saying, Inigo, we are moving through that ban phase. Zaya, the last one from Red Squad, knocked out. And now, first pick is going to be that Maokai.
Yeah, we have not seen that Avius has definitely not been afraid to play this Maokai in the jungle. He's played it last week so far, just going that demonic embrace build and really just powering through the other team. So I'm pretty sure that's exactly where that's going to go. However, it can always be a flex pick, can go top lane, a little bit in support, not quite the best there, but a good return pick on the Varus, keeping this danger, keeping this long range into that very short range tank.
I do like this Varus pick because it will also be a small kind of counter to Chaotic Surge, sending Maokai to that support role. So it's going to be a matter of that tree man either going top or jungle, like you're talking about. And at the same time, Blue Squad denying Avius that Maokai early, getting it over to Chaotic Surge's side, I think is a really smart call, as it's going to force them onto a different jungle champion. And it could be that Graves, although at the very last second, they swap over and grab the troll instead.
Yeah, the troll. Definitely always known to be a very good pick into tanks. So Maokai is probably gonna have a rough time in this jungle here. These 1v1s not quite matching up, so he's gonna have to rely on his lanes to really push him ahead, make sure he gets those scuttles, not falling too far behind. Especially if they match up in these ganks, I believe that it's probably gonna go towards the side of Chaotic Sands. Or sorry, the Conquering Sands.
It is
Ooh,
going
a
to be tough.
strong bot lane from
Yeah.
Chaotic Surge right now.
For sure. And this is immediately going to be a snap Braum response from Conquering Sands Gaming. Very much a defensive posture on that bot side for Red Team. Chaotic Surge, though, as you're saying, Pike, Draven bot for Verticality, and Banjito. And I really like this. Pike is not a champion we get to see a lot of in competitive play. This is someone who's fallen by the wayside in favor of a lot of enchanters, even with aggressive picks like the Draven. But if this champion gets ahead early, if they get tempo over to their team, it can be an absolutely unstoppable force that they're feeding there in the form of that Draven. We're moving on to the second ban phase now. Aatrox knocked out by Chaotic Surge. They're reading that Trundle, therefore, as a jungle pick, looking to just pick away some more of these top side selections for Conquering Sands Gaming. And the same can be said for Red Squad as well. They're banning out Shen.
Yeah, Shen's gone, Aatrox is gone. Really making sure that this top lane does not get some of his more well-known picks, such as Aatrox. But that Darius is still left open. I'm Here to Dunk has, as within the name, is extremely good at the champion. 600 games last season, 100 games this season so far. It's only been, what, 20 days? And already 100 games on this single champion. So I would be honestly very surprised that they don't ban it out. Just one of those comfort picks that you can always go back on. Jack's leaving the game. We've seen that he's not afraid to pick that one as well whenever it comes to competitive play. But I am afraid that they're putting a lot of faith in their top laner, Scrug, to be able to answer that Darius if they end up pulling it out.
Well, Darius was banned first ban on Chaotic Surge's side, so I
Oh,
don't think that they are going to be
well,
able to get it for I'm Here to Dunk without some massive changes to the whole rule set what league are we in again? What is this? This is Style Esports. There
Style
we go.
Esports,
Yeah,
yes.
get myself adjusted. And we do have a mid lane pick first for Conquering Sands Gaming, leaving that counter pick potential up for I'm Here to Dunk. Zoe's a champion that's actually been falling out of the meta. I still think that she has great cash potential. A lot of really good pick plays can be made combining her with that Trundle. But it's the first time I've actually seen anyone lock it in quite a while. So I'm super excited for that matchup. We'll have to see what Chaotic Surge is going to do to round out their team composition. They're sitting on that Cassante and grabbing it for Scrug.
Yeah, it looks like we're just going to be locking in that Maokai in jungle here. Not really giving too much wiggle room there, except for Elise. Okay, a very interesting pick. I've yet to see those two champions in the same game. Uh, but yeah, Cassante top lane. Always a strong pick in these competitive plays. Coming
Mm-hmm.
in right before the nerfs that should be coming in on Thursday. Um, but yeah, it's a strong pick. But the Olaf return, as we've seen, Olaf can actually do a lot of damage. As we've seen, I think LCS or LEC, I don't believe. Oh, Malphite. Okay,
Yeah,
also a
we
very
saw that
strong pick.
Malphite's flash hover from Conquering Sands Gaming for I'm Here to Dunk, but this is definitely a different look from Red Squad than what I was expecting, especially given what you were saying, Inigo. I too was thinking that they were going to get a relatively big bruisery carry for I'm Here to Dunk, but instead he's on the indemnity of Malphite duty. So we'll see how these lanes, how these players are going to kind of shift around the fact that this is a champion that doesn't need a whole lot of resources, is very safe early, but can really look to play for big team fights once you move into that mid game if people start clustering around those neutral objectives. Chaotic Surge, on the other hand, they have a very interesting composition. To me, this actually kind of reads like it might not be Banjito on Pike. This could be Yusuf Pike mid.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a nice little Pike mid. Getting those side lanes, pushing out that mid, and maybe not working too much, especially since it is at Zoe. So there's not gonna be a whole lot of pressure there, I don't believe. Trying to get that 1v1. So it might just be the roaming Pike where he goes top lane, he goes bot lane. Up until Malphite gets that ultimate going, he's going to be very susceptible to these ganks, especially with an Elise, a Cassante, a Pike, just all of this CC, all this like pushback CC as well. Uh, so it's going to be extremely hard for him to be able to stay safe until he's 6. And even after 6, that timer is 130 seconds, so every 2 minutes he's just very susceptible. Same with this bot lane. Although there is a lot of safety to come with the Varus, this Braum does have to get really in their face. And he's only good for oh so many spells to be able to block away until the CC just really takes him down and that lane ends up going downhill. So I think it's very important for them to stay healthy early on, make sure that this Pike does not get ahead, this Draven does not get ahead. Nothing really gets done with these early game picks from Draven, Pike, at least. And I think towards the end, or towards mid game, towards late game, if Conquering Sands Gaming can stay even with the gold, I think they might come out on top in the end
I
of it.
agree. I really do like Conquering Sands Games overall team comp because you have really good pick potential and a lot of high tempo plays that you can make early off the backs of that Trundle. But once you move into that mid to late game, Varus is going to scale like crazy, and Braum is going to provide insurance early, mid, and late versus Draven. As you said, it is going to be relatively easy to work through Braum's inherent tankiness and defensive ability, but that could just be the space necessary for Varus to get into a good position, get outside the range of the Draven, and really just begin to rain down hellfire in these team fights. On Chaotic Surge's side, we are seeing something interesting here in client draft, though, Inigo. It's actually going to be Elise mid for Yusuf. This is something that is a rarity for sure. I believe Happy Chime Noises has a video on this, but it's not something that you see a whole lot of, as Happy Chime Noises making a video on it would imply.
Yeah, honestly, I would like to comment on it, but this is the first time I think I've ever seen this pick on mid lane, so I'm just as, fascinated and interested in it as maybe anyone else is. Just very curious how this is going to work out. I've
Yeah,
always
especially
seen
given
Elise in that jungle position.
Yeah, especially given the fact that Elise is a very high priority jungle right now. But beyond that, this is use of consciously deciding to pick it up against the Zeri as a response. So clearly they see something in this 1v1 matchup that makes them driven to choose this. We'll have to see how that early laning phase plays out and whether or not Elise, who's oftentimes very much a feast or famine champion that just kind of becomes a cocoon bot if things go poorly for them early, really will just have to like make themselves known in the first, I would say, 10 to 15 minutes of this game. But regardless, the battle lines have been drawn. And Inigo, I think we got to throw it to a quick break to wait out the rest of the spectator delay. But once we get back, it's going to be for game number one between Chaotic Surge and Conquering Sands Gaming here in Style Esports.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Go.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to Style Esports. We are here with game number one between Chaotic Surge and Conquering Sands Gaming. And what an interesting game we have on our hands. It's Elise mid from the person who basically invented the pick facing off against someone with a whole lot of faith in Zoe in season 2023, going for Flash Ignite on both sides. This is the lane where I'm going to be watching a whole lot of action go down. But for the time being, we're actually seeing a 1 for 5 point here for Conquering Sands Gaming, maybe expecting an invade from Chaotic Surge.
Yeah, it looks like they're just making sure that they stay safe, especially with these very aggressive early champions. So, not trying to get that early lead early on, but it looks like there's going to be a little bit of vision out from the side of Maokai, maybe trying to get a little bit of deep warding. Just placing those saplings, make sure they see where they are, and they will actually spot out the Malphite going back top. Possibly the Trundle as well. I'm not exactly sure. And there they go. Yeah, they see the Trundle going topside, so that's definitely a lot of information they're getting from that.
And we'll see exactly what this turns into if Chaotic Surge will be able to leverage its knowledge at all. One thing to note here is that we're getting I'm Here to Dunk on Corrupting Pot Malphite. This is not a combination you see a whole lot of. Typically, Corrupting Pot is not taken on a champion that you're really looking to just play defensively on early, but maybe they know some sauce on the Malphite matchup versus Cassante that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, do have to say Malphite does not do too bad into Cassante. Is definitely not a very hard lane to play with the amount of armor that you stack, the amount of damage that you just get to ignore from the Cassante. So, as we're seeing already, it's a little bit of trading from all sides. Mount Brahms adding a little bit of damage on him. Nothing too worrisome right now, but he will have to worry about these continuous trades that he will be taking.
And I'm Here to Dunk getting traded on pretty heavily topside as well. The third stack within Tofu Strike's not going to quite get the knockback against the Mountain Man, but this is still a lot of very aggressive lanes, posturing super early to go for takedowns as we're seeing mid Chaotic Surge, getting that Elise in there and getting Vel to about half health.
Yeah, Elise actually having to burn, or sorry, Elise actually baiting out that ignite from Zoe as well. So that's just another summer down. The flash is coming out from mid lane as well.
And what a nice hook there from Banjito combined with the Pike E, the Roam level 2. It's going to get first blood for Chaotic Surge.
Yeah, perfect play from them. Just spamming or just layering out that CC, the flash. Make sure she had absolutely no escape from the Pike, being able to get that stun off, and an easy kill going over to the wave Pike early on.
And now,
So yeah.
when we're already seeing this Draven in the hands of Verticality, shoving in and freeing up that Pike to roam, this is going to be a chef's kiss mid lane for me. Vel doesn't have a whole lot of ability to escape. Even once they hit level 6, that portal jump is only going to buy you a few seconds. But now they're down Flash Ignite as well. Yusuf the same, but I don't think that the Brahm's going to be roaming to quite the same extent as this Pike, as we see Eric Northman already pulled back in. Now Banjito is going deep against Ogre. Dark Torch is here to help follow up onto the gank. Will the hook land? It's going to go down onto the Varus, who's pulled into the bush. Here's the rush forward with the twisted advance from Dark Torch, who's just going to throw away some of their bush babies to lock up Eric Northman as well. But Avius is here to turn things around, moving from that river. Braum gets out alive, and there's the double for the troll. Banjito has no spells to try to escape this one's wrath. Eric Northman just standing pretty far away to make sure he doesn't give over a free kill to the Pike, and all of a sudden Conquering Sands Gaming find themselves with the kill lead.
Yeah, as we've been saying, 3 kills towards Trundle here, a big lead for him. And as we were saying early on, Trundle in these 1v1s, these 2v2s, these 3v3s, he's gonna have the advantage. So early on, Maokai will not be able to give the same amount of damage, of CC, of just absolute raw strength early on that Trundle is able to give over. So as we saw in that bot lane, the difference was Trundle coming in, taking 3 kills for himself. Maokai just left to die. Draven almost living, but that triumph just not enough to be able to save him. And Pike falling soon after the 2 of his comrades.
And I was slandering Eric Northman there a little, saying I don't think this Brahm's going to roam a whole lot, but they are in fact mid lane, although because of that Hey Ogre's in a lot of trouble. Verticality just going to auto them down under that tier 1 tower, and that is why we don't want to see a Braum mid.
Yeah, it was, oh my gosh. Thankfully as well, Draven got that kill before his Triumph stacks got lost during that first fight. And now farming up just a little bit more and getting some more. And gosh, so much action in this game early on. As we were saying, like, Chaotic Gaming is just really pushing for this early lane, making sure that they don't fall behind and make sure that they get these early leads to go into the mid game.
And they're sitting pretty with about a 1,000 gold lead at the 5-minute mark. It's nothing excessive, but this is really kind of showing the power spikes that Chaotic Surge are playing around. They want to go deep early on because they know it's going to be hard to match up versus that Varus unless this Draven gets ahead, unless Yusuf on this Elise gets ahead. They are doing a very good job on the front, though, and Northman's in a bit of trouble. They went too far forward, taking tower shots, and they got stunned for their efforts.
Yeah, Braum just getting very dangerous there, and it looks like Scrugg is actually looking for this fight as well.
Is just going to try to go for the tower dive kill up against Avius, and I'm here to dunk, but now the Cassante finds themselves in a very difficult position. They won't be able to execute to that turret, but now it's just a matter of buying as much time as possible. But it really looks like right now we're looking at a very, very fed Trundle, although Vel is the one that ends up picking up the kill at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that was a very good kill to give over towards Vel, making sure that she doesn't fall too far behind to this Elise. Elise already having that 2 stacks on the Dark Soul, or Dark Seal and Sork boots, so definitely not a very good feeling for Zoe to be able to fight this 1v1, especially with Elise being the, the Elise one trick mid lane, showing off those skills in this game right now.
One thing that I am a little bit puzzled by on Conquering Sands gaming side is the fact that they keep sending Eric Northman up there into that mid lane. And sure, Vel does need a little bit of that support, but the Braum needs to be bought. We already saw what happens in the Raw 1v1. Verticality is always just going to straight up dumpster the Varus in the hands of Heogre. And now it's just becoming a matter of Braum is just kind of sapping experience mid. Although now, as soon as he leaves, this is where the action starts in that lane as we see Vel once again having to burn that flash in back.
Yeah, Avius just really showing off that he's trying to make sure that his lanes stay up. Trundle definitely having to be that player to equalize all of these fights. These solo lanes, these duo lanes, not quite being able to hold. But with Trundle there, they are just winning these fights and making sure that they stay in this game. Make sure they stay towards this mid game, this late game. They keep surviving. But yeah, as you've been saying, Eric Northman, he definitely needs to keep hovering towards that bot lane. Draven, as we know, already is known for his 1v1 potential, especially against an early game Varus. So once Verticality gets in that range, Heogre is just going to have to flash away, be able to use those summoners, especially without ultimate yet. It's just going to be a rough time without that Eric Northman there to save him.
Because of dark torches and verticality resetting, it will be Conquering Sands Gaming rushing towards that first dragon of the game. And I don't think we're going to see much in the way of contestation from Blue Squad. As for now, it really looks like Banjito and Yusuf are just trying to continue to dominate that mid lane, get some advantages as a trade back. Top side of the map, I'm here to dunk, has to just unstoppable force their way back towards the tower. Scrugg burning their all out, trying to get a kill onto that Malphite.
Yeah, I was getting very close, but both ultimates burned by both sides, so nothing of it towards the end. But I may have been wrong. Malphite may not be the right pick towards Cassante as I thought it would be. So we'll have to see how this lane goes on once these first items start coming out in maybe about a few minutes or so.
I'm here to dunk not doing a terrible job keeping relatively even in CS. They're down about 10 right now versus the Cassante, but they're perma weak sided up there on this Malphite. And I think that really that is what you're expecting out of this champion. You don't really need to hang with the major leaguers. All you need to do is farm up a respectable amount. Meanwhile, mid lane portal jump not going to get this Zoe away. They're knocked back by the Bramble Smash, and Yusuf is going to get another Avius here just a little too late.
Yeah, Avius trying to, as we've been saying, trying to make sure that they're fighting those 2v2s, but yeah, just a little bit late. Oh, and Heogre actually missing that Varus ultimate. Possibly could have been a kill with the people set up for that, but not quite able to hit that. Yeah, going back to mid lane. Yusuf just really showing off those skills, the flash burn from Dark Torch, but coming out of a kill and making sure that Yusuf gets another 2 stacks on his Dark Seal is not the best feeling.
Grug taking a lot of tower shots, though, going for that dive, and it's going to be a 1-for-1. And once again, I'm here to dunk is standing strong. I know that they are theoretically behind the Cassante, but that doesn't matter. The fact that they go down there but manage to trade a kill in kind without pulling up Avius themselves means that I think Conquering Sands Gaming have to be very comfortable with that top laner.
Yeah, it was definitely a very good trade for his side, especially if any losing 1v1, if you're trading 1-for-1 in kills. Oh, Eric taking a lot of damage there, having to flash away from that ignite, from that kill
Oh my
potential.
gosh! And verticality with a perfectly placed whirling death, getting both hits onto the Braum perfectly before Eric Northman can do anything to dodge out of it. And it's just such a rough battle of attrition there for Conquering Sands Gaming. Chaotic Surge fighting a massive lead now through this lane. And look at that gold. It's 4,000 in their favor at the 11-minute mark.
Yeah, and we know a lot of that gold is on their two carries, Yusef and Verticality. As we just saw about maybe 20 seconds before that kill came through, Draven had 150 stacks of Adoration. They already have 4 plates on top of that Drake, or on top of that turret as well. So just
Oh,
not
and
the
hey,
best timing
Ogre.
possibly.
That will be a really nice shutdown given
Ooh.
over to the Varus there because of Avius wrapping around that far side, making sure that verticality couldn't actually pick up the kill. So that's a little bit of insurance for Conquering Sands Gaming side. But as you're saying there, Inigo, this is such a rough situation for Red Team.
Yeah, Red Team just making sure that they keep going those fights that they're doing right now, making sure that they get those outnumbering, and Avius has to be in those positions to be able to counter jank and make sure that those lanes stay safe. At least pushing up a little bit here, not knowing that Braum is wrapping around behind.
And with Hayoger here as well, it's just going to be a jump up into the sky that gets at least a safety. Benjito is here, though, to turn the fight around alongside Dark Torch. Here's the Nature's Grasp to root up 2. The Braum is no more. Avius gonna flash forward, trying to get something in return, but just gets hooked back by Benjito there to prevent a further dive-in turnaround. Scrug now using that all out versus I'm here to dunk, knocking them into the Baron Pit as the fight mid continues. Benjito gonna throw their E through, but can't get a stun onto anybody, but the ult onto the backline gets the kill confirmed onto Vel, and although Dark Torch dies during that fight, it's now a double kill for the Pyke.
Yeah, 2 kills, 2 kill resets going over to the side of Pyke. Only falling is Dark Torch. So quite a trade for the side of Chaotic Surge here. Getting almost another plate, but still having to worry a little bit from that Malphite. But looks like not too
Yusuf
much.
going to just execute. I'm here to dunk. That's not a tank. That's just bank for the Elise. And bot side verticality continues to dominate the lane with another beautiful whirling death and first tower. All plates going over to this Draven. This is looking like a stomp.
Yeah, I'm not. If I correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you said that there's a 4K gold lead to the side of Chaotic Surge at 10 minutes. We are now up to almost a 9,000 gold lead at 13. So made an extra what 5K gold over the past 3 minutes going over.
And Chaotic Surge is just cashing out basically everywhere on the map at this point in time. I wasn't expecting this many members to be fed. I was going to say, I think that if this Draven gets ahead, they're going to have solo carry potential. Same thing for this Cassante, maybe even the Elise. But now all of these champions are dominating the Rift, and Chaotic Surge are poised to take a very, very striking first game here in Style Esports.
Yeah, it's definitely looking extremely promising right now. Chaotic Surge's game to take over in this mid lane, or sorry, this mid game. But to the credit of Conquering Sands, they do have a very fed Trundle who has been showing that he can be the difference maker in some of these fights. So although it is a very, very strong side from the side of Chaotic Surge, they do have to be a little bit careful from Avius, making sure that they keep eyes on him, making sure that he doesn't get too much or too many free resources in these fights. Just like Scrug looking in a little bit of a dangerous area, Trundle and Malphite trying to chase him down.
Huge dive behind this tier 2 verticality going to walk up as well, giving a 4th kill over to Yusuf, and it's just complete domination. Chaotic Surge happy to fight so deep into enemy territory without much in the way of punishment, although Scrug topside, as you're talking about, Inigo, is in quite a bit of trouble. They're going to try to knock back. I'm here to dunk. The Intofo strikes actually gets them the fadeaway kill. It's a 1-for-1, but that is another kill over to Avius.
Yeah, although it is a good trade for them to get back there, that's not the trade that you want, especially when you're losing two extra players on that bot lane play, putting so much effort into that top lane and only going 1-for-1 in the end. Yusef still fishing, making sure you may be a little bit low on mana, but he thinks he can do it.
And we're now at a 10,000 gold lead sitting there at the 15-minute mark in Ego. This is something that even I would say at the 20, 30-minute mark is very, very difficult to come back from, if not impossible. At 15, this victory for Blue Squad is a foregone conclusion.
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting. Although there can be very hopes, they are very slim to be coming. So being able to stay in this game, ensure or they have to make sure that they keep eyes on these objectives. They already have the early in their the early Infernal Drake. So they don't have to worry about Soul a little bit too much right now. They can make sure they get these try and get these picks right now.
Yusuf getting
Looks like
chased down, slowed by the Malphite Q. Benjito is here as insurance alongside Dark Torch, who will approach with that empowered speed from the Nature's Grasp, and Pyke actually turns this player around almost single-handedly. I am here to dunk is dead. Eric Northman on the backline with a Glacial Fisher trying to do something to save the Malphite, but they are unable to even keep Avius alive on that Trundle as well, and it's a 3v5 siege under that tier 1 tower. Verticality with the full health bar to play with. They're going to try to walk forward. There's the flash from Dark Torch, the twisted advance knocking back Vel, and they're caught up too. The autos come raining down upon the Zoe. They're at only 100 health as they back off towards the tier 2. Heyoger actually the first to fall, and their support is soon to follow.
yeah, verticality taking over in that top lane play, dishing out so much damage after that tier 1 turret fell. It was an excellent collapse onto the side of from the side of Banjito and Dark Torch, making sure that Yusef stays ahead. Make sure that 550 extra gold does not go to the side of Conquering Sands. And it was a valiant effort from I'm Here to Dunk and Avius, but I'm Here to Dunk may have committed just a little bit too much there, trying to get that kill and trying to make sure that he stays in this game, but it ended up costing his life and the life of 3 more of his teammates and that turret. So definitely
The
not the play that they want there.
the only blessing for Conquering Sands Gaming right now is that they're getting smacked so hard so early that Chaotic Surge just can't rally and take Baron at the 20-minute mark, because we're only 17 and a half minutes into this game. That being said, I do think the Big Purple Worm is going down basically on cooldown if the game doesn't just end before that 20-minute point is crested. Chaotic Surge have all the gold in the world, all of the power to siege. They can basically 5v5 full-on dive under a tower, and it basically doesn't stand for anything. They just need one wave, and I think this game is basically over.
Yeah, as we've been saying, but it looks like Scrugg might be biting a little bit more than he's wanting to chew on right now. But it doesn't look like it's going to be of too much consequence. But yeah, as you've been saying, they can't get those early objectives just yet. Just having to wait for their respawn timers.
I'm here to
I'm
dunk,
gonna dunk.
trapped between a rock and a hard place, and that hard place is Yusuf absolutely tearing through the health bar of the Malphite, and we are seeing so many difficult situations for Conquering Saints to have to deal with simultaneously. They don't have the damage. Heyoger has only now just completed their shield bow. They're 1 in 5. They don't have the tankiness. You have a 1 in 4 I'm Here to Dunk who rushed Frozen Heart, but ever since has been Star for Gold, and so you can't fight slow, you can't fight fast, you can't go long, and the more time that we get with verticality, the more fed he's going to be. He's about to hit that 3rd item power spike, and once that happens, I think it's the point of no return.
Yeah, as we're seeing, about 40 CS up, 6-2-1. And it looks like he has about an item and a half on his counterpart. Same in the mid lane, about an item and a half as well. And that fully stacked Dark Seal at 10 stacks. So it's not looking like the best time for the side of Conquering Sands. Just strangling out Conquering Sands right now from the side of Chaotic Gaming.
And it's always difficult to make a judgment regarding the scaling of a team with a Draven on them, just because the champion is so momentum based. But here, I think we can confidently say verticality is forever and always going to be stronger than Heyoger in this game. And so that one kind of beacon of hope that Conquering Sands Gaming could have had, where they have at least one of these lanes that was going to massively outscale and do more damage late, is just kind of gone by the wayside now. This is just a difficult game to commentate in a way, Inigo, because really, what do you say about a team that is almost doubling up the gold lead of Conquering Sands Gaming?
Yeah, it's a tough match here, especially on the side of Conquering Sands. You know, our job may be hard, but it looks like their job might be a little bit harder. Conquering Sands having to make sure that they keep these jungle, make sure that they at least get this side gold going. But it becomes so much harder, especially with these threats of the Maokai, the slows from his saplings. Elise just being able to cocoon whenever she wants. Pike also being able to turn invisible and look for these picks, just like right now.
Banjito able to get a lot of cooldowns out of some of these members from Conquering Sand's side just by rushing forward there. They have the maneuverability to just go straight through Trundle Pillar and get back towards the waiting arms of their team. And so they could constantly look for pokes. They could look for those aggressive dives and punish any positioning misplays from Conquering Sand's gaming side.
Yeah, definitely. It's just a very scary game from the side of Conquering Sands, even in their own jungle. Just not being able to trust that Pike, at least, is not going to be on the other side of that. Draven only needing probably about 2 or 3 autos to kill Vars, or sorry, to kill Vel or Hey Ogre here. And it looks like we're about to see just that right now as we see Elise Youssef taking out Vel in that side lane, and it just becomes that much easier to take some of these objectives that are not spawning like Baron.
And Banjito's actually going to push forward here. They aren't just going to go straight towards that Baron. They're instead going to try to find a kill mid, but they bought off a little bit more than they could chew. Then Unstoppable First from here to Dunk will get a kill back over to Conquering Sands Gaming, but they still end up losing Hey Ogre in that mid play.
Yeah, and I think that's probably a very good trade support for the AD carry, that person that's supposed to have all of the damage, all the kills on your team. And it looks like that will be transferring into a Baron play right now. The 4v3, not quite something that the side of Conquering Sames can really take on right now, unless they want to try for a steal. But
They do
ooh,
knock themselves over the wall. AV is going to just get all outed back, though. Darch Torch actually the one picking up the kill, and the double and Tofo strikes knocks back the Mountain Man as well. Malphite is dead. Eric Northman escapes to lick their wounds, but Chaotic Surge get everything they so desire in that play.
yeah, Scrudge not afraid of taking that fight, not afraid to wait for that little bit of backup that he needs. And as we just saw, these auto attacks from Draven.
That is unfortunate, though. Verticality definitely feeling themselves a little bit. Did not have team backup. Gives a big shutdown over to Conquering Sands Gaming side. That's something to watch out for. But Rift Herald is dropped. The Baron at Nashra has been taken. And this could still just be an easy walk-in for Chaotic Surge.
Yeah, it looks like they might be able, or they're going to get this next one. And with the Maokai ultimate, these Nature's Grass just be able to allow them to take this inhib as well without any really threat at all.
Unstoppable Force onto 3, knocking them up, but there's just no damage to follow up, and so we see Hey Ogre and I'm Here to Dunk just get slowly whittled through that play. Chaotic Surge not looking to just fully end right now. They are going to walk back, be a little bit prudent with their pushes, but honestly, this game is all about over, and it's just about how much mental damage can they inflict upon Conquering Sands Gaming before they queue up for the second round.
Yeah, truly. Right now, it might just be one of those mental games, coming back in, making sure that you don't lose the hope that you had for this game. Coming back into a game two, figuring out what may have went wrong in these early lanes, these early games that we saw, especially with verticality, being able to push out Hey Ogre in these 1v1s, especially with Eric Northman going mid, Banjito going mid, pushing the pressure in this mid lane. So I think for game two, it just might be finding the strategies of what to do next, as opposed to what you can do in this game, and just making sure you stay together.
And I really think that Chaotic Surge have found their stride with the game plan that works for them. It's not the meta right now at all, but just getting Banjito on this high priority, very tempo heavy support, getting them to roam mid, and having Yusuf on this catch oriented champion that could just jump in and all in from level 3, I think means that Chaotic Surge just have to have a lot taken away from them for me to feel like Conquering Sands has a chance. Bot side, we got a fight going. Yusuf jumping in, has to kite off towards the side after getting split by the Glacial Fissure, but here's the knockback from Scrug onto I'm Here to Dunk. Verticality just mowing down people, killing Avius. That's a double pick for Chaotic Surge, and they have another lane to play with as the minions come crashing down upon that tier 3 tower.
Yeah, another 2 kills going over to the side of Chaotic Surge, 1 to verticality, and these adoration stacks just making him probably the most fed champion in the game right now. The only possible player that could fight him back is Youssef. And more
And
champions
Vel
just
is
going down.
Yeah, Vel is just melted due to the coordinated efforts of the Cassante and the Elise. Here goes the Nexus Towers and everybody except for Avius, who just spawned up. Conquering Sands Gaming going to fall in a rough one versus Chaotic Surge. We'll see how they bounce back for game number 2.
Yeah, just not a very fun game for the side of Conquering Sands. Just having to rough that one out and try and keep in it mentally. But yeah, as we saw that game go on from minute 1 to I'm sorry, yeah, minute 1 to minute 25, it was just a slow downpour in the goal to the side of Chaotic Surge, really taking over, especially with this Draven, this Elise. As we were saying, these very early game champions, as long as they can stay ahead, if they can get those early kills, then they may be able to take over, and they did just that, taking over with what 5K or sorry 4K at 10 minutes, about 9K at 13 minutes, and just continued that advance.
I really don't think there's a whole lot for me to say that hasn't already been stated by you in game, Inigo. I mean, Chaotic Surge just dominated from basically minute 1. Yusuf knowing exactly how to all in on Elise mid, getting Vel low, burning their summoner spells early, and from there, really just kind of dominating game through mid is one of the themes that I need to see upended for game number 2. Conquering Sands Gaming have got to figure out what Vel can do to answer back against this player, but at the same time, you also got to look bot lane. Verticality cannot be given Draven again, especially if you're going to be making this call to let Banjito roam and you're trying to match it with Eric Northman.
Yeah, just not probably one of the very funnest games, especially as you were saying. These these support roamings were just drastically different in their abilities to actually be able to be of consequence to the mid lane. Braum, not quite the best not quite the best roamer as Pyke is, especially the speed, the amount of CC that he's able to push out. And as we saw in this top lane, Skurd or Surd or I can't remember his name quite, but at least the Cassante was not having to do too much against this Malphite, just continuously making it even 1v1. Maybe choosing probably one of the better champions to keep that lane even and making sure that Malphite is never actually able to make those big 5v5 differences with his ultimate.
Yeah, I agree. I think Conquering Sands Gaming have a chance. We talked a lot about how the composition from Chaotic Surge is uniquely very momentum oriented, and we did see Conquering Sands get a few kills here and there, playing off of some rough mistakes from Chaotic Surge, especially with that gank bot side that went sour very early. Avius getting a double kill, I think actually 3 kills, excuse me, onto that Trundle in the course of just a few seconds. If we see more of that, Conquering Sands Gaming definitely have a chance of taking us to game 3. But as it currently stands, Chaotic Surge have the advantage. We're going to throw it to a quick break to get into the draft for game number 2, but make sure to stick with us. This is going to be a banger.
Yeah, we will be right back.
Hello, friends, and a welcome back to Style Esports. We are here for the second draft of the night between Chaotic Surge and Conquering Sands Gaming. CS going to be beating CSG for the first round, but still they remain on blue side. And let's see if we get a repeat of the composition we saw from game number one.
Yeah, it was definitely a very strong composition, coming right out the gate from Chaotic Surge and making sure that they get those leads, making sure that they get those early champions on, especially with this Elise, well known apparently for this mid lane Elise, and taking over against Vel there. Not quite the best time, but was very fun to watch, at least for us, being able to see these very flashy champions come out, Elise and Pike as well.
Yeah, I think that the real question is does Conquering Sands Gaming actually respect ban Elise mid out of anything? Right now, it looks like they actually think it was Dark Torch who was the problem. They want to knock out the Maokai, and they follow that up with the Udyr. Meanwhile, Chaotic Surge, banning what we saw from game number one, they still don't want to give I'm Here to Junk that Darius.
Yeah, that Darius being a very scary champion for the side of I'm Here to Dunk. Again, over 700 games within this season, 20 days, and last season, 600. So, uh, definitely not giving that one over as well. And looks like they're also banning out a little bit of these safe picks as well. Ezreal, Syndra coming out, which we saw those picks in the first round of last game. So nothing too different. The only different side for Conquering Sands is switching out that Xayah for that Maokai as we saw. But it looks like they're not quite afraid at that Elise, that Pike, that Draven. Those champions that we saw really deal out a lot of damage, a lot of CC, and taking over in that early late or sorry, that early mid game that we saw.
And Chaotic Surge aren't going to prioritize any of these spicy picks. They're just going to go for that bot lane first, it looks like. Grabbing the Ashe, a nice flex pick between Verticality and Banjito. I sort of hope that we do see the Draven come through again, given how well Blue Squad fared by getting a super aggressive bot lane started rolling from minute one, basically. But the Ashe does kind of indicate to me that they may be looking to put priority elsewhere. And meanwhile, Conquering Sands Gaming go for another relatively safe pick. Here's the Xayah.
Yeah, Chaotic Surge might be going for those that poke pick that we've been looking at a few in these LEC LCS games as well. Ashe possibly going support or probably going support. So that leaves another poking ADC to possibly come out against this Xayah and whatever support that they end up picking up. Maybe not in this round, but later on. So seeing where these picks come out. It looks like the dynamic duo may be the pick coming. Xayah Rakan, the Lover's Conquest there, coming out to show their face for the side of Conquering Sands Gaming.
I usually am not a huge fan of seeing early priority on Rakan, especially with Chaotic Surge still having the ability to flex that Ashe into the support role or taking it AD carry. I think this is a champion with a whole lot of counter matchups. It's one that can get picked off easily, and it's not something that really defines your composition super well because he cannot work as primary engage. He can follow up very well on engages, but yeah, as we see here that Heimerdinger coming through, it's now going to be very difficult for him to do anything in lane.
Yeah, as you were saying, Heimerdinger being one of those top tier anti-engage type of supports. Anytime anyone tries to engage, he just puts down his turrets and it's free damage, free CC, and a free kill most times. So Rakan is gonna have to play a very passive type of playstyle here. Maybe trying to go for those roams as we saw before. Uh, as we know that he does love to do. Rakan being a lot better of a champion to do it on than Braum. So it will be interesting to see that come out. Wukong also coming as well. We've seen that Atreus isn't afraid to pull that out of his pocket as well. Or yeah, I believe it's Atreus. Uh
AVS
so yeah.
for Conquering Sands, you mean?
Sorry. A different sorry, a different jungler of this game. But Heimer
No worries, no
uh
worries.
loss of
Yeah,
words. Wukong being one
it,
of those really good picks.
Yeah, it is interesting that Chaotic Surge is going for such a dramatically different team composition when they really didn't have anything from game number one denied to them in this first part of the draft phase. It looks like they just want to flex their muscles on multiple sides, though, just show that they are a complete team ready to rumble here in style. Conquering Sands Gaming going to round out their first three picks by grabbing themselves Jax. So this is a different look for sure from CSG. It looks like it's probably going to be for I'm Here to Dunk Avius, not really a Jax player that's super well known, and also it's just not a great jungle pick right now. And now CSG actually are going to be denying Scrug that Cassante.
Yeah, Jax, he's definitely not played that champion. He has played it last week against the enemy team that they were going against. So, something that he's definitely comfortable on. And as we're saying, Kindred being banned away from Conquering Sands, while Malphite being banned away from Chaotic Surge. So, we've seen that he played Jax into that Malphite, and, or sorry, he played Malphite into the Jax and absolutely stomped him in last week's games. So definitely afraid of that matchup on the other side. Make sure that that doesn't end up happening back to him. And we will see this last band coming out for the side of Chaotic Surge. It will be interesting to see what they pick. And it looks like Silas is going to be banned away from the side of Conquering Sands. So that mid lane, that possibly top lane, is going to be out of here.
And this is an interesting call. There are already quite a few good ultimates that Silas could have stolen away, but Chaotic Surge could be looking to ramp towards something in that topside role that you really don't want to have Silas taking the R of. Maybe a Mordekaiser is on the table, but CSG for the time being going to pick first in this second phase. And I do love that Zach coming out there for the jungle.
Yeah, Zach, a very strong pick that we've been seeing. This demonic embrace build that he's been taking advantage of has shown so much damage potential, as well as just having the natural tankiness that Zach has with those heals, those blobs coming out. So it's definitely a very nice time to be seeing him, but he will be paired against the Sejuani, who we do know that he is able to cancel those dives in if Sejuani is aware. So being able to hit it with that Q, making sure that Zach does not get that extra bounce in, is going to be very, very pivotal in these team fights. And Azir also being picked up in the mid lane for Chaotic Surge.
And this is a very balanced team composition for Chaotic Surge. As I said before, it's different from what we expected, given the wildness of the Elise mid pick in game number one. But this is showing another side. Yusuf could play the meta as well, and I think that Azir is definitely a champion where you can absolutely dominate just with superior laning. What's interesting to me is that CSG sees this and they immediately respond to grabbing the Kassadin. Azir, not necessarily the most difficult champion to lane against early, but this still is going to be giving a lot of priority in that lane over to Blue Squad's side, as Cass is going to take a while to get online.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be one of those very close games that we see. But as you're saying, Rakan, not being that primary engage, thankfully they do have the Zac to really back it up there and make sure that that primary engage is not him, but will be that strong secondary engage, especially with the Let's Bounce coming out. Rakan just being able to pick out, run around, get those charms, and make sure that Chaotic Surge is not quite able to get out of those. But we will have to keep eyes on this Azir. If he's able to get those Sand Soldiers in the right positions at the right times, maybe dashing away, dodging around, and using that that giant wall of soldiers that we know, really taking out Jax, taking out Zac, Rakan. And so I think it may be up to him to be able to make sure that his team does not get caught out in case that ever does happen. Heimerdinger also here for the counter engage. So it will be a very interesting game to be able to see Chaotic Surge using this composition that they picked in Conqueror Sands, seeing how they have managed to switch around what they want to do, or possibly doubling down and making sure that they didn't pick the wrong composition, or sorry, they didn't pick the wrong idea, just the wrong champions from last game.
Ooh, and what's nice to note here in the client draft phase is that Scrug's actually the one piloting Sejuani versus Jax top. That's going to stabilize the matchup just a little bit, and it provides a bit more priority for Dark Charge to do things early, getting out ahead onto that Wukong, really looking for big ganks. But I think that on balance, I do actually like Conquering Sands Gaming's composition better, regardless of where those two champions are flexed. And part of that comes down to the fact that this Zac is going to do a whole lot to interfere with what Wukong wants to do early. For disruptors, Zac is perhaps the single best counter ganker you can ever ask for. And Wukong now will really have to pick and choose their battles very, very well if they want to clearly get an advantage for Chaotic Surge. Another thing to note is that now this Rakan pick is looking a whole lot more promising. You touched upon it a little bit, Inigo, the fact that Rakan isn't primary engaged. They are going to be able to follow up upon that Zac. They're even going to be able to follow up on a Jax if they want to leap strike forward and get a stun early. You just E to them and then W to keep the lockup. Kassadin now has an entry point, and I think that they overall have a much more clear narrative for themselves to follow throughout the course of the second game than they did in the first match.
Yeah, it's definitely be, as you're saying, a very interesting switch to see how that Wukong has to play around the Zac for now. Not being able to get those full engages and not being able to really trust that he's going to have that outnumbering potential of 3v2s or 2v1s, especially Zac just bouncing over these walls, being able to counter engage every single time that Dark Torch tries to do something. But we will also, like, as you said, they switch lanes. So Sejuani being able to get that better matchup into the Jax, but Wukong having to suffer against his Zac. So we've seen Scrugg be able to play this Sejuani, at least in solo queue, just over, about over 100 games on this champion. So he's not new to the idea of Sejuani top lane, bringing out typically Ignite teleport. So we'll have to see if he's as competent on it to get these early kills onto the Jax and maybe shut him down early.
All right, well, Inigo, I think this is going to be an exciting one. Conquering Sands Gaming showing that they're undeterred, unperturbed from that game number one, drafting themselves a very, very nice composition that could take this game late and lead to a good victory for Red Squad. Chaotic Surge, on the other hand, trying to show off a little bit of a different side to everybody. One thing to note here is that we get another flex down bot. I did not even notice this. It's probably going to be Heimerdinger APC with Ashe support for Banjito. So, yet again, more variation, more wild stuff coming out of this unknown quantity of a team, and they are really looking to show themselves as a dominant force in style esports. We're going to throw it to a quick break, but when we return, it'll be for game number 2 of the night. Hello, friends, and welcome back to Style Esports. We are here for game number 2 between Chaotic Surge and Conquering Sands Gaming. And now it's actually going to be Blue Squad who's not 5-pointing this time. They're moving all through bot lane and maybe looking for some cheese.
Yeah, it's definitely looking very strong on the side of Chaotic Surge. Not afraid at all.
Yeah, it looks like Hager may be able to spot them out, and so this is just going to be a back off angle from blue team. We'll see if Conquering Sands Gaming wants to try to push top lane, get a little bit of vision here. It looks like this will be their cue to try to do so. The Zac and Jax are moving towards that blue buff pit.
Yeah, trying to get that early vision that that Chaotic Surge was able to get on their side in game 1. But now it's their turn to do the same thing on the opposite side. But doesn't look like they're actually gonna put any wards down, just possibly sitting in that bush and making sure that they don't. Oh, there they go. There's that bush there. Or sorry, there's that ward as I was talking about. So it looks like they will get that early on vision, knowing that Wukong is going to be starting on this blue side and pathing down towards that Heimerdinger Ash. And yeah, as you're saying in the champion select, Heimerdinger is going to be the APC, picking up Dorn's ring, while Ash picks up the Spectral Sickle.
And while I am surprised, I'm not disappointed. I actually really like the fact that they're going for a Heimerdinger APC here. They do have a lot of magic damage, especially with Yusuf on that Azir mid. But hopefully we'll just be able to see a Fed team make up for the fact that maybe their damage distribution isn't the best. And I do genuinely believe that Heimerdinger support's a little bit overrated. You don't do quite as much damage as you would hope. And I think that unfortunately, it's just a pick that at this point in time is just too highly prioritized for what it actually brings to the table. Sure, it's getting anti-engage and whatnot, but honestly, so many other champions are also good against anti-engage. I think one of the main virtues of Heimerdinger support, especially for solo queue, is that it's easy, and when you're in coordinated play, when you're at a high enough elo, such as what we're in right now, I think that it should be much more about just prioritizing getting this champion the goal to really pop off.
Yeah, as we've been seeing in, LCK and all, there are just those early pick poke comps that we've been seeing coming out from those. So it is kind of sort of following that type of idea with the Ashe support, although we do see that Heimerdinger as the APC. So that damage it will be coming out, like you've been saying, making sure that Heimerdinger does get that goal, does get that early ability to spam out those missiles and just get that damage as fast as possible. Avius going early on mid lane.
Yusuf is going to just try to stand and fight with their wave, poking back off the Zac here, and they'll not really able to push forward to follow up, especially with how mobile Chaotic Surge's bot lane is already rushing up into enemy territory. Avius nowhere to go, just to flash over that wall. Heimerdinger grenade just going to narrowly miss.
Yeah, strong push from the side of Chaotic Surge, collapsing on that Zac and canceling out any of that farm that he was going to try and get from that bot lane jungle. Now also having to burn out that flash. So Scrugg making sure that he keeps that ward, knowing that Zac is going to be on this top side. Make sure that he understands that he has to stay safe, but he is pushing up a little bit. Zac now pathing up towards this Sejuani, seeing possibly that they can be able to fight inside this massive wave that he has set up.
Bro,
Looks
trying to
like
crash this wave under tower, will get pincered here by Avius. Has no flash, decided to go for that aggressive ignite, and will just try to get first blood before they fall. Jumping forward, killing I'm here to dunk. Scrugg is thugging out on this pick.
Yeah, as we saw, Scrugg absolutely unafraid of going under and getting that kill onto Jax. And it ends up being a perfect play for him, albeit 1-for-1. He gets the first blade gold and gets that the crash onto the turret too. So that wave will be resetting on his side and lets him keep this teleport advantage here.
Yeah, and this is a big deal for Chaotic Surge because one of the things I really wanted to look for out of these first few moments was going to be how Avius decides to play things. And this has just been a rough one for Zac. Sure, they managed to secure a kill topside of the map for Conquering Sands Gaming. but they don't have flash available. So any future ganks are going to be a little bit more difficult. And we're seeing that Chaotic Surge is working so well as a coherent unit. That roam was beautiful from Heimer and the Ash. Although mid lane, we are seeing Yusuf getting jumped on yet again. The Bird Wizard still has flash available. They will be able to get back towards tower while preserving that summoner spell. But yeah, AVS is doing a really good job suffocating some of these lanes. The issue is now they're about half the CS of the Wukong.
Yeah, Wukong is just absolutely plowing over, not having to worry about any of these ganks while his team just does the work for him. Making sure he has what 14 CS lead basically in this jungle right now, being able to take over his jungle, Zach's bot lane jungle, and now Eric Northman, as we've known, is coming over and actually missing the ability, not quite hitting it onto Scrugg, and looks like all that time may be wasted if nothing ends up coming from this. Zach also coming over.
They're
So
sending
one,
three
as
people
we've been
topside of
saying,
the map. Eric Northman still here, going to have grand entrance back up for another play. Tries to get it pulled down onto Scrugg, but they're barely even needed. The yoink there from Avius gets I'm here to dunk the kill.
yeah, that kill going over onto the I'm here to dunk. Very, definitely one of the people that you want that kill to go over onto. But bot lane, Zayed actually keeping up in the waves here. Keeping keeping up with the farm and making sure that they keep that CS advantage in this 2v1, especially with Eric Northman, as we've been seeing, not afraid to gank. And as I don't believe that's going to be the last one that he will be saying, Grug actually getting the cancel, not quite seeing Jax move into the other bush, and he will be getting out of there with his life.
Yeah, that's a really awkward situation. I think that Scrugg doesn't really need the kill right now, as good as it would be. So not a complete disaster, delaying that Jax a little bit more, especially without the teleport available. Still going to pay dividends towards that Sejuani, who now that they have that level 6 power spike available for themselves, will be a little bit more difficult to gank. So I don't think we're going to be seeing quite as much priority placed topside for Conquering Sands gaming, especially now that they have gotten I'm here to dunk a kill. The question is, where is the Zach going to needle next? Are we going to be seeing them kind of retreat to the jungle for a little bit, farm up? Are they still going to sacrifice that gold income to try to get these laners ahead?
Yeah, odds are Zach is probably going to be sitting towards this mid lane and this bot lane, as we're seeing him do right now, making sure that they get that early Drake and pushing forward towards that right now. But yeah, as we were saying, Zach is just going to be going for that Azir over and over, making Yusuf have to work for it. But now we have another fight in this top lane.
Dark Torch able to get both charges of the Cyclone down, and the Wukong actually picking up the kill versus I'm here to dunk, forcing out the flash from the Jax as well. So that's a really solid cross map from Chaotic Surge. They lose that first dragon, but stacking up, getting that play topside of the map, and freeing up this Wukong now with a whole lot of gold over Avius, I think is going to be a big deal.
Yeah, and we have to keep in mind that Sejuani still is holding on to that glacial prison and that ignite. So the kill threat is constantly there. It's still early on, so that 1v1 potential from the Sejuani is still very, very viable. As
Oh,
we've already seen.
verticality in a lot of trouble, though. There's the chain CC we were talking about. Elastic slingshot into grand entrance means that the Heimerdinger is dead quite quickly, and now they try to jump down onto Banjito. Top side of the map, Scrugg going to go for the 1v1 tower dive and will successfully pick up the kill versus I'm here to dunk, but Vel has roamed up. There is a 1-level advantage. This Cassidy getting stunned, still has Void Walks, though, forward, gets the stun, and will pick up the kill. So that's actually a big one for Conquering Sands Gaming. And across the board, they come out in a 2-for-1.
Yeah, getting that trade kill back onto the side of Conquering Sands, especially on this Cassidy who needs that gold, who needs that ability to get ahead early, possibly finishing out that Rod of Ages early on in the game. But like you were saying, Zach, making sure that Verticality and Banjito have to really play passively, always watching for those ganks, watching for that damage. And Zach just making sure that this bot lane is not the free kills that it was before. Ooh, a lot of damage coming out on I'm here to dunk there. Not quite too sure what was happening there.
I
But
think that
yeah,
Jax probably just opened up the shop and didn't realize that they were getting poked down by a Sand Soldier. At least that's what I would guess. Regardless, this Jax is turbo behind in this game now, and the fact that we're seeing this kind of pseudo lane swap where Jax went mid and immediately lost a lot of life again without getting a bunch of waves in return, I think it shows that right now, topside for Conquering Sands Gaming is in a tough situation. Although across the rest of the map, they are balancing out quite well.
yeah, Zach making sure that he keeps on this bot lane and this mid lane. And so making sure that Yusef doesn't get ahead, verticality, Banjito, all these players just having to play very passively, albeit it is going against this bot lane's nature right now. Ashe and Heimerdinger constantly pushing into that turret, which means that they always have to be aware that there is that gank potential coming out from Zac, but not right now. Actually hanging out towards that top side, getting a little bit of 1v1 towards that top lane.
Avius has a lot of health to play with here, going to be able to perfectly heal back up because of the way that the jungle works right now. I'm here to dunk, not going to push too hard on a Scrug, knowing that there's very little kill pressure on the Sejuani right now. Bot side of the map, Banjito throws out that enchanted crystal arrow, but no real follow-up. Heyoger doesn't even have to burn that cleanse, although now Eric Northman activates the quickness, tries to get down on verticality, who just flashes back. Banjito now throwing out their volley, going to get the slow and stun, and that's going to be the cleanse away from the Zaya.
Yeah, I was about to say the difference in these supports is that Hey Ogre actually has these abilities to dodge for free without having to burn that flashment. But that cleanse actually coming out with the Ashe slows, the Heimerdinger be able to almost hit that stun, burning out that flash early on. So one of the potentials of this bot lane is that Rakan and this Zaya have so much mobility as opposed to this Ashe Heimerdinger, giving Zac that ability to just constantly go over and over towards his bot lane. Albeit he has only come the one time, possibly looking towards this mid, and it looks like it might be a free one.
Krug, top side of the map, all caught up. Tried to go for the 1v1, but was baited. Avius was there, and now I'm here to dunk, gets one kill, and now he might get another one. Dark Torches Cyclones in, but the Jax holds on, and that's a disaster for Chaotic Surge. This champion was so behind, and they just gave him 2 kills.
Yeah, 2 kills. Whoever said that Counter-Strike was a good ability, making sure that I'm here to dunk just stays alive inside of that 2v2 ability, or that 2v2 fight that was happening, living with basically 50 health to his name, but 2 kills to the game. And now he is back in it, evening up some of that farm deficit that he was facing, and now actually getting a 150 gold bounty now for the other team to try and take it back from him. So it's definitely one of those games where you just have this lead, you have all this gold, and then it's just given up in the instant, or sorry, in the blink of an eye. So now it's back onto the pressure that I was saying, Zac, possibly going for the spot lane. The lack of mobility from Heimerdinger and Ashe just really going to be one of those punishing factors that they're constantly having to be afraid of. Without that that deep vision that they're getting in the bot lane, as we saw Zac just being able to dive over the turrets. Avius constantly being a threat, even with Wukong down here.
Eric
It looks
Northman
like
having to go
actually,
golden. A lot of nice chain CC, but the Grand Entrance will get them back towards the tier 1. And now the elastic slingshot from Avius will allow for a re-engage. Conquering Sands Gaming pick up the kill onto Dark Torches, and Chaotic Surge has to back off after another rough fight. We
yeah,
actually have a
just this.
re-engage too, bot side of the map. The Let's Bounce, Verticality has nowhere to go. Vel was there from the Tri-Bush on the wraparound too. And CSG across the board are doing well as Scrug will Glacial Prison and get the shutdown on time. I'm here to dunk, excuse me. But Red Squad overall coming through, and now they have a dominant gold lead.
Yeah, as we were seeing, just Zac taking advantage of the lack of mobility. I keep saying it over and over, but it keeps being a factor inside of these fights. Wukong not being able to get out once he uses that E, once he uses that that Cyclone, and now Heimerdinger and Ashe, Banjito and Verticality having to face the consequences of the lack of movement that they're able to put out. Zac being able to get these free engages, these free knockups, and now giving over these kills to Kassadin one by one as she gets even more fed.
And Conquering
So
Sands Gaming really doing a great job re-angling, looking for a fight in the mid lane. Eric Northman throws out the quickness, but just has to immediately back off because of the poke that the Azir and Ash bring to the table. Regardless, you can use a few abilities here and there and not get anything when so many other of the plays that CSG went for are paying off super well. 4-9 is the kill score, and while it will be first start going over to Chaotic Search and they remain relatively even on gold, you got to look at what champions this gold is concentrated on. Yusuf and Verticality are the two players that I really hoped would get fed at this point, but Conquering Sands Gaming are actually the ones who are centralizing their gold super well. Also, I'm here to Duncan Vel, and now Banjito's in a lot of trouble. Immediately exhausts Heyoger, where there's 4 members of Conquering Sands bot side. They got nowhere to go. Although I'm here to Dunks in a little bit of trouble top. The wall of sand soldiers will knock them back into Dark Torches, who immediately goes for the Cyclone. Scrugg getting chased down alongside Verticality near this tier 1 bot side of the map. The Grand Entrance knocks up the Sejuani. Verticality split from them. Vel picks that kill up, and the Sejuani is also not long for this world. What a cross map.
yeah, 1 kill in the top lane, but 2 kills in the bot. I'm sorry, 3 kills if you include Manjito a little bit earlier. But just absolutely taking over is Conquering Sands. This time it's their turn to get the kills onto their mid laner Vel and the ADC Heyoger. Kassadin getting 3 stacks on his Rod of Aegis, 10 stacks on that Mejai's being upgraded over because he is just unstoppable. Level 12 right now, so that means that upgraded ultimate, being able on that quicker cast time, really getting over to those strong levels, those strong abilities, and those strong items that he is now able to get. So 5 kills in, 2 kills onto Heyoger, and it is not looking very bright for the side of Chaos Surge right now. But it's not quite over just yet. Chaotic Surge still has the ability to come back into this game. As we were saying in that Champion Select, they do have that very prime ability to counter engage. These items not quite being too far behind, maybe in the mid lane with Cassin and 5 kills, but Heimerdinger still keeping up 1 item, maybe half an item down on his counterpart of Heyoger. So Verticality making sure that even though he is a little bit behind, especially in farm and the kills, that at least item-wise, he is still keeping up. So these counter
Scrugg, top side
engages
of the
that we were
map,
talking about
looking for
earlier.
something versus Vel, especially with Dark Torches there to follow up, but they weren't expecting Avius jumping in. They immediately get knocked up by Wukong Cyclone, though. The fight once again split. Vel unable to get in, already burning that flash. Here comes the quickness, though, as a follow-up, trying to protect this Zac, whose passive was pop, but Scrugg eventually gets the kill, and now these 2 remaining members of CSG topside just have to back off. Heyoger maybe looking for a little bit of a flank, but now they too have to just use their Featherstorm to get out from under Dark Torches. Eric Northman jumping forward, getting the W onto Scrugg to make sure that there can't be any follow-up.
Yeah, a lot of damage coming out consistently over time. Those counter engages being very crucial, as well as those engages from Sejuani and Wukong being able to dish out all of that CC and all of that damage, making sure that Zac is never able to actually jump out by himself. Kassadin having to worry about his life, and even Heyoger just having to use that ultimate early so he doesn't get knocked up and having to deal with the consequences. A little bit of a, a rift, a little late in the game, 18 minutes, but definitely can't hurt.
Yusuf
Yeah,
may
as
be in a bit of trouble here as Avius looks to set up for a play. They're spotted out on a ward, and that's going to buy the teleport from Scrugg to try to defend their mid laner. Enchanted Crystal Air goes really wide. Vel able to just happily pick that kill up, and now the Sejuani's in a 2v1, trying to chase down Zac, who doesn't have their passive available, and with a fadeaway auto, Scrugg is in fact able to get the kill, but that's double kills over to Conquering Sands Gaming's mid laner, and Vel is absolutely looking as the win condition for this team.
Yeah, although they are getting kills back on the side of Chaos Surge, these kills are not going on to the person that they want them for. These kills being on Scrugg, the Sejuani.
Big
Strong amount of damage.
Yeah, big play there mid lane, and I really like the fact that we see Dark Torches able to follow up on Verticality. And this is what I'm talking about. Going Heimer ADPC allows for you to do crazy things like that. 1E into RW basically took out the entirety of Heyoger's health bar, and hopefully if this little guy gets a little bit more fed, it's going to be true one-shot territory versus some of these squishies.
And now with Heyoger down, the dragon will be almost free for the side of Chaos Surge, looks like there's not going to be any contesting on the side of Surge or Conqueror Sands. It looks like Vel might be in a little bit of trouble, but not too much. But yeah, as you were saying, APC Heimerdinger just being able to dish out all of that damage, as we were saying, really making sure that his team is continuously able to dish out no matter how far behind they are. All it takes is one stun to be able to get that full damage combo coming out, and then Kyogre is just long gone from this world. Yeah.
And Chaotic Surge being able to get that dragon there, I think, is really crucial to the fact that they're delaying Conquering Sands Gaming's overall game plan. I think that still we have a scaling advantage clearly on a Red Squad side, even if they don't get Dragon Soul. But Dragon Soul would just be the cherry on top for this team to really start putting the hurt onto Chaotic Surge.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I can't remember quite. I think it's Chemtech Drake. Chemtech Drake definitely putting a lot of damage into the pockets of whoever gets this soul, probably from the side of Sands, especially with these two Drakes so far in their pocket. But yeah, this Drake would be strong, but definitely not the deciding factor, especially with this Cassidon, almost level 14, 2 more levels away from that ultimate being almost on no cooldown whatsoever. And
I do think it is
just
Hextech Soul
continuously
this game.
farming up. Hextech?
Yeah, it's Hextech.
I'm sorry, I said Chemtech.
Yeah, it's all good. It was Chemtech as like first dragon, so it can be a bit confusing because of that. Oh gosh, hey Ogre, once again caught up in the chain CC, able to get away because of their Feather Storm, and now Avius is here to try to turn the fight around. Teleports being channeled by both sides. This is where winners are won and lost. The jump in behind the line from I'm here to dunk, but he is knocked away by the Emperor's Divide. So far to 1-0. Chaotic Surge losing Scrug topside, but I do think that they keep hold of the map and they will not give over this Baron just yet.
Yeah, like we were saying earlier, just that counter engage being very crucial to their team composition, putting up that turret, putting up the sandstorm, or sorry, the sand soldiers and Heimerdinger's turrets. Constant things, just being able to dish out this damage from both far apart and pushing out the enemy team from their engages. Avius looking on the side here.
Yusuf gonna be able to pick off Hey Ogre. Here comes the Enchanted Crystal Arrow down on to Avius. Verticality gets that kill, but Vel is very much in the thick of things now, going legendary by killing the Azir, and now they have a whole lot of health to play with as they get the double up against the Wukong. These 3 remaining members of Chaotic Surge need to try to escape, but how can they do that up against a champion that's able to teleport wherever they so damn well please? But Scruggs, standing strong, will be able to take them down, and now it's only going to be one player up for both sides, as only now Eric Northman will return to the Rift.
Yeah, a strong showing from both sides. Just being able to see that pure damage that Vel is be able to kick out here. Unfortunately, giving over a very big bounty, but unfortunately it's to Sej, or sorry, to Scrug, who although, oh my, okay. I'm here to dunk, not actually able to fight those minions off. One of the points that we actually didn't bring up during that Champions League, not expecting those minions to be able to take place in this game.
Yeah,
So,
I did not expect
honestly,
that to happen. And this is actually a big issue for Conquering Sands Gaming, because Chaotic Surge could just look for a Baron, especially now that we also see their Khan getting picked off. What a beautiful snipe there from Banjito.
Yeah, Banjito. Ace in the hole, unfortunately not playing Caitlyn, but really showing off the skill of not able to miss. So, and looks like with those 2 champions out, I'm here to dunk. No teleport on his side. Eric Northman also falling down. It might be one of those free Drakes that we're seeing. Although Avius is on the side, unfortunately, it looks like he might just be giving it up in free Drake to the side of Chaotic Surge. So,
and this Baron buff is going to do a whole lot for Blue Squad to get back into this game firmly, and I think make sure that Conquering Sands Gaming don't get too far ahead. The thing is, this is such an odd game. It feels like Vel should just be absolutely dumpstering everybody at level 15 on that Casa win, but Chaotic Surge are just rallying. They're tenacious, and now they have the chance to really extend this gold lead, keep CSG from bouncing back and getting a huge momentum swing in their favor. And now we're really looking at the added dividends of there being a denial of soul point from Red Squad's side. Chaotic Surge, by getting that Hextech Drake, basically mean that they don't have to fight if they don't want to. They could just push these lanes out and farm up, get that gold lead, and really begin to put the hurt down onto Conquering Sands.
Yeah, and something very important to see is that the side of Conquering Sands. Oh, I'm sorry. I speak too soon.
It is interesting that Verticality wants to use ult there, as I think that one E would suffice, but they really, really wanted to kill Eric Northman, I think is the obvious call. Scruggs top immediately just throwing out the Glacial Prison. I'm here to dunk is just getting absolutely smacked by the Boar Rider now, and that split push is going to go horribly wrong for Conquering Sands Gaming. That's another player gone, and they will not be able to defend against this mid push.
Yeah, just like I was trying to say, unfortunately, it looks like the side of Conquering Sands does not really have the type of resistances that we would think they'd have. Some resistances with this MR on the side of Jax of I'm here to dunk, but outside of that, not really any resistances worth noting. Maybe Radiant Virtue, but as Chaotic Surge is able to kite out these fights with these turrets, Ash being able to hit these out, the Sand Soldiers, they're just able to dish out all this damage for free, just running away constantly and not trying to keep away from taking all that damage that Vel is able to dish out. Like you were saying, Vel just is supposed to be running over these champions, but if he's not quite able to get there, it makes it a lot harder to try and hop onto them. But as we see, Vel level 16 now, so that cooldown is drastically reduced. And we're going to have to see next fight if he's able to actually wipe out some of these key members, making sure that Yusef, Verticality are not able to just dish out that side or that back line damage.
Oh, and that's the
Bandido.
power of Castle when Bandido just melted in an instant after throwing out that Enchanted Crusader towards the mid lane. But it still looks like Chaotic Surge wants to go for a fight. Kassadin only now coming on into the mid lane. Yusuf going to be able to kill Hey Ogre. And look at the Cyclone tearing up Conquering Sands Gaming. It isn't even Vel able to do anything. It's just a wipe. Chaotic Surge rally at the right moment. They lost Bandido, but they will not lose this game. It's these two remaining members of CSG standing between Chaotic Surge and an easy second win to close out this best of three.
And now it's just down to one. Eric Northman having to do the massive base defense of his life, facing these empowered, or sorry, not empowered minions, but these siege minions, and trying
Aaron
to make
Northman
sure
trying to
his
go for the
base
grand
does
entrance
not
onto
fall.
verticality. But yeah, he's pushed all the way back towards this inhibitor tower, and he is basically just going to have to stand there impotently. Hey, Yoger coming in, trying to do something as well. There's the engage, but Scrug is just going to pop the Rakan like a balloon, and the Nexus is sure to follow. The Glacial Prison available. Hey, Yoger going to have to cleanse that to try to do something. They get one off the Feather Storm, but they cannot stop the take. And what a disaster. Conquering Sands Gaming looked so good that game.
Yeah, honestly, Conquering Sands was putting in a lot of promise. It fell. Just being able to wipe out these side members, Banjito falling to him early on before that fight even began. But like we're seeing, Banjito was bot lane. The entire fight was in this mid lane, so their most crucial member, the one with all their damage, the one with all their gold, was missing from that fight. So losing, what, 3 or 4 members early on before Vel was actually able to join the scurry was just too much for him to actually be able to take over. And it was just one of those games where, unfortunately, Conquering Sands just waited a little bit too late to pull the trigger and try and get those fights going for Velt, that level 16. And looks like it's just going to be a 2-0 from the side of Chaotic Surge instead.
And honestly, Chaotic Surge, I think, even with a few mistakes here and there, deserve that win. That call, the confidence to go as four, even with Banjito dead, to push in and try to get the kills onto Conquering Sands Gaming mid lane as Vel desperately tries to get over there, I think speaks to the fact that their coordination is next to nothing. And I'm really, really excited to see what they do from here on out.
Yeah. It was a very good game from the side of Chaotic Surge, really rallying around, like you were saying, those points where, some slip ups were happening. I'm here to dunk, dying early, and then followed by, I'm sorry, I think it was Eric Northman. So unfortunately, both of these members coming down, giving over a free Baron, then just constantly those fights just not quite going in the way that they wanted. Maybe losing early or even members, or possibly winning some of those fights, but losing most of their health or their health bars. So having to back reset and not able to get those key objectives, such as that Drake, that Baron, and just ended up being a little bit too much to be able to take on.
And there's clearly still improvement for both sides. I think, especially for Conquering Sands Gaming, just knowing how to stick with a lead once it's procured will be really, really valuable for them because that second game should have been in the bag, frankly. But at the same time, Chaotic Surge 2 clearly are making a few mistakes here and there. There's overextensions, maybe not the greatest allocation of pressure to individual lanes, but once they cook together, once they get as a group and they start making calls, and are on the same page, I think that this team will be very difficult to take down, especially now that we've seen two very, very different team compositions coming out of them, showing their flexibility.
Yeah, Chaotic Surge is really showing what they can do. They play those early games, they can play those late games, they can play those those mid-game weird compositions where nothing seems to be really matching up that well against their enemies, but they still pull it out anyways. So, yeah, like you were saying, there's a lot to learn from both sides, just making sure that they get those laning phases going. As we saw, there's a strong lead coming from the side of Conquering Sands Gaming early on in this game. Jack's not quite feeling the love, but Kassadin, Zaya, Rakan getting those early game or early kills and pushing them farther ahead. Um, so yeah, it just wasn't enough for this game to be able to take over.
All
That's
right. Well, I think we saw a very impressive series today in Inigo. It was an honor to cast it with you. Super, super excited to be here in style. And hopefully we'll be able to come back, do a little bit more for you guys in the future. But as it currently stands, I think that we're about to wrap up for the night.
Yeah, it looks like that's all we have for tonight. Chaotic Esports being your champion at 2-0 versus their opponents, Conquering Sands Gaming. So until we see you next time, this is all we have for you tonight. InigoMontoyas and Nyarko, I believe,
Yeah.
being the casters for this game. And we will see y'all until we play again.